On the vibrant planet of Zephira, the skies were painted in shades of violet and gold. Massive crystal towers reflected the sunlight, casting rainbow patterns across the city below. The air was filled with the hum of alien creatures and the soft sound of wind flowing through the floating gardens. This was a world unlike any other in the galaxy, and at its center was the palace of the ruling family, a structure carved from living crystal, gleaming in the light. Inside this palace lived Princess Liara, the only child of King Varan and Queen Selene. Liara was unlike any princess in the galaxy. She was brave, clever, and kind, but also fiercely independent. From a young age, she had refused to follow the usual path of a royal daughter. While other princesses spent their days attending lessons in diplomacy, etiquette, and court gossip, Liara preferred to explore the forests, climb the mountains, and learn about Zephira's creatures and plants. She studied the stars and dreamed of visiting distant worlds. As she grew older, many alien nobles and rulers sent their sons and heirs to ask for her hand in marriage. Zephira's royal family was wealthy and powerful, and marrying the princess could secure fame, wealth, or influence for any suitor. But Liara rejected them all. Some she dismissed politely, others she refused without hesitation. Stories of her refusals spread across the galaxy. "You must choose soon, my daughter," her father, King Varun, said one morning. "Your kingdom expects it." Liara shook her head. "Father, I cannot marry someone I do not know, someone who only wants me because of my title. I need to find someone who values courage and heart, not just wealth and power." The court whispered about her. Some admired her strength and independence, while others considered her stubborn. The suitors became frustrated, some even offended, as countless diplomatic missions ended in failure. The princess seemed untouchable. Yet despite the many suitors, Liara's heart remained untouched. She spent her days in the palace gardens or the wilds beyond the city. She trained in combat, learning to wield swords and energy blades with skill. She studied alien technology and star maps, trying to understand how worlds were connected. Her life was full, exciting, and independent. But there was a quiet loneliness that only she felt. One day, a new visitor arrived on Zephira, a human, named Captain Ethan Drake. Humans were rare in this part of the galaxy, and their ways often puzzled alien species. Ethan was part of a diplomatic mission from Earth, sent to discuss trade and knowledge exchange. Unlike other visitors, he did not bow excessively, nor did he bring lavish gifts. Instead, he asked questions. Questions about Zephira's culture, its creatures, its plants, and the way its people lived. Liara first noticed him in the palace courtyard. He was walking among the floating gardens, examining a crystal flower that glowed softly under the sun. Unlike other visitors who rushed to see the princess or her treasures, Ethan seemed fascinated by Zephira itself. His curiosity was honest and natural, not forced. "Curious about everything," a courtier whispered to another. "Perhaps he is just a simple human." But Liara felt something different. There was no arrogance in Ethan, no desire to impress anyone. He moved carefully, touching plants lightly and observing their patterns. He spoke to Zephira's creatures without fear. It was a human quality she had never seen before, a mix of curiosity, courage, and gentleness. Their first meeting was unusual. Liara had been walking through the gardens, her energy blade slung across her back when she noticed Ethan studying a small floating orb of light. The orb flickered, sensing her presence, and hovered nervously. "Careful," she said, her voice calm but firm. "Those light orbs can sting if they feel threatened." Ethan looked up, startled. Oh, I didn't know. I'll step back." Liara studied him, curious. "You are not afraid?" she asked. Ethan smiled nervously. "A little, but I think if you respect them, they will respect you back. That's how it works on Earth with animals, and maybe here too." Liara raised an eyebrow. Most suitors would have tried to impress her with grand words or gestures. This human simply observed and spoke with honesty. That was intriguing. Over the next few days, Ethan remained in the palace, attending diplomatic meetings and exploring Zephyra under guided supervision. Liara watched him from a distance. He climbed steep crystal cliffs to observe alien birds, helped repair floating bridges damaged by windstorms, and rescued small creatures trapped in vines. Everywhere he went, he acted with caution and care, showing courage without arrogance. The alien court began to notice him. He is just a human, some nobles whispered. What could he possibly do that we cannot? But Liara saw something different. She saw heart, the quality that no wealth or title could buy. She remembered her own words. She wanted someone who valued courage and heart over wealth or power. Could it be that this human, so different from anyone she had met, was the first she had truly considered? One evening, the princess decided to approach him herself. She found Ethan at the edge of a glowing lake, where the water shimmered in colors unseen on any other planet. He was sketching the reflections of the crystal towers, completely absorbed in his work. "You find beauty in strange places?" she said softly. Ethan jumped, startled. He turned and saw Liara standing there, her presence calm but commanding. "Princess Liara, I didn't hear you approach," he said quickly, bowing slightly. "You are observing Zephyra with care," she said, smiling faintly. "Most visitors rush past, seeing only what they think is important. You notice what is real." Ethan's eyes widened. I just like to see things for myself. I want to understand this world. It's amazing. I've never seen anything like it." Liara nodded, intrigued by his honesty. "And you do not fear the creatures here? The storms, the cliffs?" "I feel fear," Ethan admitted. "But I try to understand it and move carefully. Fear doesn't have to stop you." The princess's lips curved into a small smile. It was a rare expression, one few in her court had ever seen. She felt a strange warmth in her chest, something unfamiliar yet pleasant. Over the next weeks, Liara observed Ethan more closely. She watched him laugh with Zephyra's children, learn from alien engineers, and speak politely to her advisors. He did not seek to impress anyone. He simply acted with integrity and courage. The princess began to feel a connection she had never felt before. Still, the alien court remained skeptical. Many noble families had sent their best sons to win Liara's hand, yet this human, a simple outsider, was earning her attention. The gossip spread quickly. Some saw it as dangerous, others whispered of hope and change. Liara, however, did not care about court opinions. She had never cared. She cared about her own heart, and for the first time she felt it pulled toward someone she had never expected. A human, small, simple, and yet extraordinary in ways that no alien suitor could ever match. One night, as the twin moons rose over Zephyra, Liara stood on a cliff, watching the sky. The stars glittered like diamonds, each one a reminder of the vast universe. She thought of her duties, her people, and the countless suitors who had come and gone. And then she thought of Ethan, his courage, his kindness, his respect for her world. A thought crossed her mind. Perhaps this human, so different from all others, was someone who could truly understand her. Perhaps he could see her not as a princess, but as a person. The wind blew through her hair, and for the first time in her life, Liara felt a spark of hope. Not just for adventure, but for something deeper. Something that could change not only her life, but the course of her kingdom. And far below in the palace gardens, Ethan looked up at the same stars, unaware that he had already begun to capture the heart of Zephyra's most independent and fearless princess. The day had come for Ethan Drake to face the trials of courage set by Zephyra's royal court. It was a tradition that no suitor could bypass. Though humans had never participated before, the council agreed to allow him to prove himself. The trials were designed not just to test strength, but intelligence, bravery, and compassion, qualities Princess Liara valued most. Liara observed the preparations from her balcony high above the palace. She wore her usual simple tunic and energy blade at her side. Her violet eyes followed Ethan as he met the trial masters. Unlike other suitors who had stormed through challenges with arrogance, Ethan listened carefully, asking questions when instructions were unclear. The princess smiled slightly. Perhaps this human had more patience and determination than she expected. The first trial was a test of courage in the carnivorous forest, a dense area where plants moved with surprising speed. Some plants could grab a person's limbs or spray, paralyzing spores. Most Xiferans avoided it, and suitors often faltered at the first step. Ethan took a deep breath at the forest's edge. He studied the giant vines that swayed like serpents and the luminous flowers that pulsed in a hypnotic rhythm. His heart raced, but he did not panic. He recalled Liara's words from their first meeting. "Fear doesn't have to stop you. Remember." "Ethan," the trial master called, "retrieve the golden flower at the heart of the forest. Many have failed before you." Ethan nodded. "I understand. I will be careful." As he entered the forest, the plants reacted immediately. Vines whipped toward him, trying to block his path. Ethan dodged skillfully, moving with both caution and confidence. He noticed a small carnivorous vine near the ground, which had trapped a tiny glowing insect. Faux suitors would have ignored it, but Ethan paused. He carefully untangled the vine without harming it, freeing the creature. The insect hovered near him for a moment, as if acknowledging his kindness, before flying away. A soft hum of approval resonated through the forest, something only the princess and trial masters could sense. Liara's lips curved into a small smile. Courage alone was not enough. Compassion mattered, and this human had it. Deep in the forest, Ethan encountered the glooming shadow, a massive plant that could sense fear. Its black leaves rustled, and dark tendrils reached for him. Ethan felt fear prick at his chest, but he forced himself to stay calm. He studied the plant carefully and noticed a weak spot at its base. With precise movements, he used a small energy blade to sever the tendril gently without harming the plant completely. The glooming shadow recoiled but did not attack further. When he finally reached the golden flower, its petals shone like molten gold. Ethan plucked it carefully and began his journey back. The forest, sensing his respect and bravery, parted slightly, allowing him to pass unharmed. Liara watched silently, from a distance. She had seen many suitors fail in the forest, but Ethan navigated it with balance, intelligence, and heart. She felt admiration growing inside her, a feeling she had rarely experienced before. The second trial tested intelligence and problem-solving. Ethan was led to the Temple of Light, an ancient structure built from crystalline walls that reflected beams of energy in complex patterns. The goal was simple in words but complex in execution. He had to redirect the beams of light to activate a central crystal and open the temple's inner chamber. Many aliens struggled with the puzzle. Their knowledge of energy manipulation was vast, but their arrogance made them impatient. Ethan, however, approached carefully. He observed the reflections, noting how each beam bounced off the crystals. He tried multiple angles, making small adjustments, and watched the effect. When a beam hit the wrong spot, he stepped back and tried again. Hours passed. Sweat formed on his brow, but he did not complain. Slowly, with patience and logic, he redirected all beams toward the central crystal. A brilliant glow filled the chamber as the crystal responded, and the inner doors slid open with a soft hum. Liara, observing from above, felt a thrill of excitement. Many suitors would have given up or forced the beams recklessly. Ethan's calm thinking, combined with persistence, was exactly the quality she admired. Not only was he brave, but he also possessed a mind that could adapt and persevere under pressure. The third trial focused on compassion and courage combined. A small alien creature, a Luminara, had been trapped in a deep canyon filled with shifting rock platforms. The creature's soft glow flickered as it tried to escape the dangerous environment. Many Xiferans would have rushed in, risking themselves, recklessly, while others would have hesitated and let it perish. Ethan approached the canyon cautiously. He studied the rocks and the currents of wind that made them unstable. Using small tools and ropes, he created a safe path, guiding the Luminara carefully upward. Several times he had to place himself in precarious positions, balancing on narrow ledges, but he never rushed. His focus remained on the creature's safety as well as his own. When the Luminara finally reached solid ground, it emitted a soft, melodic sound, a form of thanks. Ethan smiled, his chest heaving from the effort. Liara watched, her heart swelling. He had saved a life without seeking glory or recognition. This, she realized, was a rare gift, something far more valuable than any crown, gift, or status. By the end of the trials, the court was in awe. Alien nobles whispered among themselves, astonished that a human had succeeded where many of their own people had failed. Ethan's courage, intelligence, and compassion had surpassed expectations. Liara descended from her observation point, her cloak flowing behind her. She approached Ethan, who was standing at the edge of the canyon watching the sunset reflect off the floating crystal towers. "You have done well," she said softly, her voice carrying both authority and warmth. Ethan turned, slightly startled, but quickly bowed. "Princess Liara, thank you. I only did what I thought was right." The princess studied him, her violet eyes intense yet thoughtful. "You faced danger, puzzles, and creatures most would have run from. Yet you acted not for reward, but for what was right. That is rare." Ethan felt his cheeks warm. I just tried to respect this world and its people, that is all." Liara smiled faintly. "Perhaps that is enough. But tell me, human, why do you risk so much for others? You are not a warrior or a noble here. You are an outsider." Ethan hesitated. "On Earth, we believe courage and kindness matter more than wealth or power. I wanted to see if that could make a difference here, and I suppose I hope to understand Zephyra, not just as a place but as a people." The princess tilted her head, considering his words. "Your heart is different from those of the many suitors I have seen. Perhaps that is why you succeeded?" In that moment, a quiet connection formed between them. Liara felt a spark of admiration and curiosity she had not known before. For centuries, Zephyra had been ruled by tradition, by expectation. Yet here was a human, simple in appearance, who had challenged those expectations, not with force, but with heart. The sunset painted the sky in fiery colors, and for the first time in her life, Liara wondered what it might feel like to trust someone completely, to share her thoughts and dreams with another being, to see if love could grow where respect had already taken root. The court gathered as Ethan returned to the palace, the golden flower and the crystal puzzle token in his possession. Murmurs of surprise and admiration spread quickly. Liara's advisors whispered among themselves, astonished that a human had passed the trials. Some feared it would disrupt traditions. Others were quietly impressed. But Liara did not care about their opinions. Her mind and heart were focused on something far more important. She wanted to know more about this human, this outsider, who had shown courage, intelligence, and compassion in ways she had never seen before. That night, as Zephyra's twin moons rose over the crystal towers, Liara sat alone in her study, gazing at the stars. She thought of the trials, of Ethan's bravery, and of the quiet moments when he had acted with kindness. Her thoughts wandered to the possibilities, the future that might be shaped not by duty or expectation, but by heart. And somewhere in the palace gardens, Ethan sat beneath a glowing tree, sketching the stars and thinking of Liara. He did not yet know how deeply he had impressed the princess, nor how his actions had begun to touch her heart. Yet he felt a quiet sense of purpose, a feeling that his journey on Zephyra was only beginning. The trials were over, but the story between the princess and the human was just beginning. A spark had been lit, and both of them would soon discover that courage and heart could change not only individuals but the fate of a kingdom. After Ethan successfully completed the trials of courage, the court of Zephyra was buzzing with whispers. Many nobles could not understand how a human, a simple outsider, had surpassed their finest heirs. Others admired his intelligence, bravery, and kindness in secret. But Princess Liara's attention was no longer on the court. It was on the human who had so quietly captured her interest. Liara decided to spend more time with Ethan, not officially, but informally. She wanted to see who he was beyond courage and skill. She arranged a series of explorations across Zephyra, taking Ethan to places few had ever seen. The first trip was to the Crystal Forest, a magical place where massive crystals sprouted from the ground, reflecting light in dazzling colors. "You humans have nothing like this on your planet, do you?" Liara asked, walking carefully among the tall crystals. Ethan shook his head, eyes wide with wonder. "Nothing like this. It's beautiful, like the stars fell to the ground and grew into trees." Liara smiled. She enjoyed watching him react to her world with awe and genuine curiosity. "Most visitors barely notice the smaller crystals, the colors, the patterns. They only come to see me or the palace." Ethan crouched to touch a crystal, running his fingers along its smooth surface. "I want to see everything. I want to understand. Zephyra, not just the stories." "Then you are unlike any other visitor I have met," Liara said softly, feeling a warmth in her chest. "Most are here for glory, not for learning." Their next adventure took them to the floating lake of Lumina, a lake suspended in the sky by anti-gravity fields. Glowing fish swam through the air above the water, leaving trails of sparkling light as they moved. Liara taught Ethan how to balance on the floating rocks and jump from one to another. At first he stumbled, but he laughed at himself and tried. Again. "You are clumsy," Liara teased, smiling. "I'm trying my best," Ethan said, laughing as he caught himself on a crystal ledge. "You make it look so easy, princess." "Liara," she corrected him gently. "We are not on formal ground right now. You may call me Liara." Ethan nodded, relieved. "Liara, then. Thank you for letting me see your world like this. It's magical." As days passed, they explored more hidden places, glowing caves filled with phosphorescent plants, mountains that sang when the wind passed over them, and forests where tiny creatures with translucent wings darted through the trees. Everywhere they went, Ethan observed carefully, asked questions, and treated Zephyra's creatures with respect. Liara found herself laughing more often than she had in years. She enjoyed his perspective, his humor, and the way he noticed details that others overlooked. For the first time, she felt that someone outside her own world could truly understand her, and perhaps even share in her dreams. One afternoon, they reached the Valley of Echoes, a place where sounds bounced endlessly, creating layers of voices and music. Liara challenged Ethan to make a song echo through the valley. He hesitated, unsure how to create music in this alien world. But Liara encouraged him, and soon he found rhythm in clapping and tapping stones. The echoes formed harmonies, filling the valley with a magical resonance. "You humans are clever," Liara said, her violet eyes gleaming. "You learn quickly." Ethan smiled. "I just try. I've had teachers, sure, but mostly I watch and listen." Liara felt admiration for him growing with each passing day. This human who had started as a stranger was now someone she trusted, laughed with, and sought advice from. And she was not blind to the feelings stirring within her: curiosity, respect, and something deeper that she had long kept hidden. But not all was peaceful in the palace. The alien court was growing uneasy. Some nobles whispered about the growing closeness between Liara and Ethan, fearing that a human could disrupt centuries of tradition. "A foreigner? A human?" they muttered. "It is dangerous for the princess to be influenced by him." Liara ignored the gossip, though she was aware of it. She had always followed her own judgment, not that of others. But Ethan noticed the tension. "Liara, the court, they are watching us closely," he said one evening as they walked along the palace terraces. "Do they not like me?" Liara shook her head. "They will never understand you, Ethan. You are different, and difference makes them uneasy. But I trust you. That is what matters." Ethan felt a mixture of relief and pride. "I want to do right by you and your people. I want to help, if I can." Liara studied him. His sincerity, his humility, and his dedication made her heart stir. "You already have, in ways you may not realize," she admitted softly. The two spent long hours talking about life, dreams, and the worlds beyond. Sci-Fi. Ethan shared stories of Earth, its oceans, mountains, forests, and people. Liara told him about Zephyra's history, the struggles of her people, and the responsibilities she carried as princess. "You have so much weight on your shoulders," Ethan said one night as they watched the twin moons rise. "And yet you walk with courage and grace. Most would crumble." Liara smiled faintly, a shadow of sadness in her eyes. "I have no choice. My people depend on me. But it is lonely at times. I have had many suitors, yes, but none who understood this burden." Ethan reached out, a gentle gesture of comfort. "You are not alone, Liara. You have friends. You have people who care, and perhaps me." Her heart skipped a beat. The words were simple, yet they carried a weight that she could not ignore. She looked at him, really looked at him, and saw not just a human but a being who had proven courage, intelligence, and compassion, qualities she had long sought in a partner. In the following days, Liara found herself thinking of Ethan constantly. She noticed the way he smiled at small wonders, the way he approached problems with care, and the way he treated everyone, royal or servant, with respect. She realized that her heart, so long guarded, was beginning to open. Yet challenges remained. Some of the court's nobles had grown openly hostile, plotting to discredit Ethan and separate him from the princess. They whispered about human inferiority and feared the influence he might have on Zephyra's future. One evening, a court advisor approached Liara. "Princess, we must consider the implications of your friendship with Captain Drake. He is a human. He cannot fully understand our ways. It could lead to chaos." Liara's eyes hardened. "I am aware of the risks, but I will not judge a being by their origin, only by their actions and their heart. Captain Drake has shown courage, intelligence, and respect. That is more than many of our nobles can claim." The advisor bowed and left, muttering under his breath. Liara turned toward the balcony, where Ethan stood, gazing at the horizon. She took a deep breath, realizing that her life and her heart were changing in ways she had never imagined. Ethan had become more than a visitor. He was a companion, a confidant, and perhaps even something more. And though the path ahead would be challenging, filled with court intrigue, political tension, and dangers unknown, Liara felt a spark of hope. She had found someone who could see her as she truly was, not just as a princess or a symbol of power. The stars shimmered above, and the twin moons cast their glow across the crystal towers. Liara and Ethan stood together, silent but connected, each aware that the bond between them was growing stronger. For the first time in her life, the princess felt that someone might walk beside her through the adventures and dangers of life, not just as a companion, but as an equal. And for Ethan, the feelings were mutual. He admired her courage, respected her wisdom, and felt drawn to her kindness and independence. He had come to Zephyra as a visitor, a human outsider, but he had found a world and a person worth more than he could have imagined. In the quiet of the night, both Liara and Ethan understood that their journey together was only beginning. Their growing connection was a bridge between worlds, between species, and perhaps even between hearts that had long been guarded. The palace may have whispered, the court may have watched, but Liara and Ethan knew one simple truth. Courage, kindness, and understanding could create bonds stronger than fear, suspicion, or tradition. And so, under the twin moons of Zephyra, a new chapter began, a chapter where trust, respect, and the slow blooming of affection would shape not only two hearts, but the future of a kingdom. The peace of Zephyra was not to last. For centuries, the planet had been protected by its natural defenses and the courage of its people, but even the strongest kingdoms face challenges. One morning, alarm signals echoed throughout the crystal towers of the palace. Strange storms were forming over the northern seas, and scouts reported that alien raiders, a notorious group of space marauders, were approaching Zephyra, taking advantage of the unusual weather. Liara stood on the palace balcony observing the approaching storms. The skies had darkened, swirling with violent energy, and lightning arced unnaturally between clouds. The raiders' ships glinted in the distance, sleek and dangerous. The princess's violet eyes narrowed. This was not just a test of courage, it was a test of leadership. The court panicked. Advisors shouted over one another, arguing about defense, strategies, but chaos ruled more than order. Many of the nobles wanted to hide, fearing the raiders' power. Liara knew she had to act not just for the palace, but for the people of Zephyra. "Call Captain Ethan Drake," she ordered. "If anyone can help, it is him." Ethan arrived swiftly, already carrying schematics and tools from the palace's technology labs. "Princess," he said, "I've studied the raiders' ships and the storm patterns. I think I can help coordinate a defense, but we need the people's trust and cooperation." Liara nodded. "Then let us begin. We cannot wait for fear to guide us." The first step was to organize the city's defenses. Ethan worked alongside Zephyra's engineers, combining human tactics with alien technology. He devised energy shields, powered by the floating crystal towers, and coordinated the city's patrol drones to monitor the raiders' approach. The aliens were skeptical at first, unused to the combination of human and Zephyran methods, but Ethan's clear instructions and quick problem-solving soon gained their respect. Meanwhile, Liara inspired the citizens. She spoke from the central square, her voice calm but commanding. "Do not let fear control you. We are Zephyrans. We have faced storms, creatures, and dangers for centuries. Together, we will protect our home." The people cheered, their courage renewed by their princess's example. Even those who had doubted Ethan now followed his guidance. As the raiders neared, the storm grew stronger. Thunder shook the ground, and bolts of lightning danced across the sky. The floating bridges and towers of the city vibrated under the force of the winds. Liara and Ethan worked side by side, monitoring the defenses and adjusting energy shields to block falling debris. Then came the first attack. Raider ships swooped down, firing energy blasts that shattered rock formations outside the city walls. Ethan directed the patrol drones, intercepting many of the blasts, while Liara led a team of skilled warriors to protect the citizens trapped in vulnerable areas. The two worked in perfect coordination. Ethan's strategies, combined with Liara's courage and leadership, allowed them to minimize damage. Citizens watched in awe as the human and the princess moved seamlessly together, calm under pressure, guiding their people through chaos. At one point, a massive raider ship broke through the energy shield and headed toward the central plaza. Citizens screamed and ran for cover. Liara drew her energy blade, her movements swift and precise. She leapt onto a floating platform, deflecting blasts and clearing a path for the civilians. Ethan raced alongside her, using a small device to disrupt the ship's navigation system. Together, they forced the raider to retreat temporarily. The battle lasted for hours. The storm raged, and the raiders pressed their attacks, but Liara and Ethan's courage never wavered. Ethan coordinated defenses from the sky using hovercrafts, guiding drones to intercept missiles and energy blasts. Liara led teams of warriors to vulnerable spots, protecting citizens and keeping morale high. During a brief pause in the fighting, Liara caught her breath and glanced at Ethan. He was kneeling on a ledge, repairing a drone mid-air, sweat dripping down his face, but his eyes shone with determination. For the first time, she felt a rush of emotion, pride, admiration, and something deeper. This human, so different from her people, had become her equal in courage and action. "You are extraordinary," she said quietly, almost to herself. Ethan looked up and smiled. "We are extraordinary together." The battle resumed with renewed intensity. A second wave of raiders attacked from the east, attempting to flank the city. Ethan quickly devised a trap using Zephyra's unique terrain, floating crystal pillars and energy barriers, to funnel the raiders into a narrow passage where their ships could be disabled. Liara led the execution of the plan, her leadership flawless. The raiders, caught off guard, were forced to retreat further, their morale weakening. As night fell, the storm began to subside. The raiders, realizing their assault had failed, withdrew entirely. Zephyra's people emerged from hiding, cheering for their princess and the human who had helped defend them. The city was battered, but alive. Damage had occurred, but the lives of the citizens were safe. Liara and Ethan stood together on the palace balcony, overlooking the city. The twin moons reflected off the crystal towers, casting soft light over the landscape. "You did well," Liara said, her voice calm but filled with genuine admiration. "I have never seen anyone handle such chaos with courage and intelligence." Ethan smiled, though exhaustion was clear on his face. "I just did what needed to be done. You led as much as anyone. I only followed your example." Liara shook her head. "No. You led in ways I could not have imagined. You inspired the people. You taught them courage. You helped me see things differently." A moment of silence passed, filled only by the soft hum of the recovering city. Liara felt her heart stir in ways she could not ignore. For centuries she had kept her feelings guarded, refusing suitors who sought only her title or wealth. Yet, this human, through bravery, intelligence, and heart, had proven himself worthy not of her title, but of her trust and admiration. The court approached cautiously the next day, still wary of Ethan. Many nobles whispered their disapproval, arguing that a human should not have such influence, but the people of Zephyra were different. They had seen courage in action, and they admired Ethan as they admired Liara. Support for the princess's new companion grew quietly but steadily. Liara made a decision that surprised many. She held a council meeting, but instead of focusing on punishment or protocol, she highlighted the bravery and contributions of Ethan. "Captain Ethan Drake has proven that courage, intelligence, and heart know no origin. He has helped defend Zephyra, saved lives, and earned the trust of our people. Let us remember that true strength lies in action, not in titles." The court fell silent. Some grudgingly accepted her words, others remained skeptical. Liara paid them no mind. She knew the truth of what she had witnessed. The human had earned more than respect. He had earned a place beside her in purpose and perhaps something even more important. That evening, Liara found Ethan in the palace gardens. The city was calm, the storm and raiders now memories. The two walked together among glowing plants and floating lights, a quiet connection forming between them. "You did more than I imagined," Liara said softly. "Not just for me, but for the people. You showed them what courage and kindness look like in action." Ethan smiled, though he was clearly tired. "I could not have done it without you. You inspired me to act. And I learned from you." Liara looked at him, her heart swelling. "Perhaps we learn from each other then." He nodded, understanding more than words could express. For the first time, the distance between human and alien, between outsider and princess, seemed less important than the bond they shared, built on courage, respect, and a growing trust. The threat had passed, but the experience changed both of them. Liara realized that she could trust someone beyond her species, someone who shared her values and her dreams. Ethan realized that courage, wisdom, and compassion could unite even the most different beings in a common purpose. The stars shone brightly over Zephyra, and the twin moons cast their gentle glow on the city. Liara and Ethan stood side by side, knowing that their partnership was no longer just about friendship or trials. It was about shared purpose, mutual respect, and the beginning of something deeper. The kingdom would soon see that true leadership came not from fear or tradition, but from courage, intelligence, and heart. And Liara, once the princess who refused all suitors, began to see that her heart might finally belong to someone unexpected, a human who had proven himself not through wealth or title, but through actions, bravery, and care for all life. The future of Zephyra was bright, and a new chapter was beginning. For the kingdom and for the princess and the human who had become her equal in every way that mattered. The skies above Zephyra were clear, and the twin moons reflected off the crystal towers of the palace. The city, still recovering from the storm and the raiders' attack, hummed with life. Citizens repaired their homes, rebuilt the bridges, and tended to the glowing gardens. Though the threat had passed, the courage of Princess Liara and Captain Ethan Drake was still fresh in everyone's minds. For Liara, the events of the past days had changed everything. She had watched Ethan's courage, his intelligence, and his compassion in action. She had observed how he inspired others and how he never sought glory, only what was right. And in that time, something she had kept hidden for years, a part of her heart, had awakened. She stood on her balcony, looking at the horizon. The human had proven himself not only to the people, but also to her. No other suitor, no alien prince, or noble had ever made her feel the way Ethan did. She remembered their explorations, the way he had laughed at the wonders of her world, the way he had approached problems with patience and care. He had become more than a visitor, more than a companion. He had become someone she trusted with her thoughts, her dreams, and perhaps her heart. Ethan entered the balcony quietly, holding a small glowing orb, a gift from Zephyra's forests. "Liara," he said softly, "I wanted to bring you this. It reminded me of our first walk through the palace gardens, when we saw the glowing flowers together." Liara smiled, her violet eyes softening. "It is beautiful, Ethan. Just like that day, and just like this moment." He looked at her, hesitant but determined. "Princess Liara, I have traveled across the stars, seen many worlds, and met many people. But no one has touched me as you have. You are brave, kind, and wise. You inspire me in ways I never imagined. I wish to stay by your side if you will have me." Liara felt her heart race. The words were simple, yet they carried the weight of truth. She took a deep breath, looking into his eyes. "Ethan, you are not like anyone I have ever met. You came as a stranger, a human from a distant world, yet you have shown courage, intelligence, and compassion in ways that surpass many I have known. I wish to be with you as well." A smile spread across Ethan's face, and he stepped closer. "Then will you allow me to stay? Not as a visitor, not as a guest, but as someone who walks beside you through whatever comes?" Liara nodded, her heart full. "Yes, Ethan, you may stay. And more than that, I wish for us to face the future together, as equals." The announcement caused a stir in the court. Some nobles whispered in surprise, while others quietly admired the courage of both the princess and the human. But Liara had made her choice, and she knew it was the right one. Love, she realized, was not about titles or tradition. It was about heart, trust, and mutual respect. The palace prepared a grand ceremony to honor Ethan's courage and to celebrate the bond between him and Liara. Citizens gathered in the central square, their faces filled with excitement and hope. Decorations glimmered and glowing banners fluttered in the wind. The twin moons above reflected in the crystal towers, casting light across the city like a blessing from the heavens. During the ceremony, Liara spoke to her people. Her voice was calm but firm, filled with pride and sincerity. "Today we honor not just courage but the heart that guides it. Captain Ethan Drake, a human from a distant world, has proven that bravery, intelligence, and kindness are not bound by species, wealth, or title. He has earned not only my respect but also my trust and friendship. And now, he has earned my heart." The crowd erupted in cheers. People waved their hands and light banners, celebrating the union that symbolized courage, understanding, and hope. Ethan knelt before Liara, bowing respectfully. "Princess Liara, I accept your heart and your trust. I promise to stand beside you to protect this kingdom and to share in all the joys and challenges of life with you." Liara extended her hand, helping him rise. "Then let us walk forward. Together, Ethan. Not as princess and guest, but as partners, equal in heart, equal in purpose." As they stood side by side, the citizens cheered again, and the palace resonated with the joy of unity. For the first time in her life, Liara felt completely understood and supported, not by a title, not by duty, but by a being whose heart matched her own. In the days that followed, Liara and Ethan worked together to rebuild Sci-Fi. Ethan learned more about the planet's culture, its technology, and its people, sharing knowledge from Earth that helped improve life on Sci-Fi. Liara guided him through the traditions of the kingdom, teaching him not only leadership, but also the values that had kept her people strong for centuries. Their partnership became an example to all. Citizens saw that courage and heart could cross worlds and species, that leadership was not about fear or control, but about understanding, respect, and cooperation. Sci-Fi's nobles began to reconsider their own prejudices, inspired by the bond between the princess and the human. Liara and Ethan also found moments of quiet joy. They walked through the glowing forests, watched the twin moons rise over the crystal towers, and shared stories of Earth and Sci-Fi. Ethan laughed at the quirks of alien customs, while Liara found delight in his perspective on her world. Their love grew steadily, rooted not in superficial attraction but in shared respect, understanding, and admiration. One evening, they visited the floating lake of Lumina, where glowing fish danced above the water. Liara reached out, touching the shimmering surface, and Ethan joined her. "Do you ever think about the stars beyond Sci-Fi?" he asked softly. Liara nodded. "Often. But now, I think about the journey we are taking together. About the people we can inspire. About the future we can build." Ethan smiled. "Then let's explore it together. Not just Sci-Fi, but the stars beyond, and whatever challenges come our way." Liara looked at him, her heart full. "Together, Ethan. Always together." Word of their partnership spread beyond Sci-Fi. Nearby planets, neighboring kingdoms, and distant worlds heard of the human who had earned the heart of the strongest and most independent princess in the galaxy. Their story became a symbol of hope, proving that courage, intelligence, and compassion could unite even the most different beings. Even those who had doubted them could not deny the truth. The human and the princess had faced danger side by side, inspired their people, and built trust that transcended boundaries of species and tradition. Love, respect, and courage had won where fear and prejudice had failed. Liara, once the princess who refused all suitors, had found someone who matched her heart. Ethan, once a visitor from a distant world, had become her equal in every way that mattered. Together they were not only partners but also leaders, showing that the future could be brighter when hearts were brave and open. The twin moons shone over the palace as Liara and Ethan stood together on the balcony, looking at the city that had survived storms, raiders, and doubt. Citizens below cheered for them, inspired by their courage and their bond. The crystal towers glimmered in the light, a reflection of the hope and joy that had spread across Sci-Fi. Liara turned to Ethan, her violet eyes soft and full of emotion. "We have faced storms, dangers, and doubt, but together we are stronger than any challenge. And I am so glad that we found each other." Ethan took her hand, holding it gently but firmly. "Liara, you have taught me courage, wisdom, and the meaning of trust, and you have given me a home in your heart. I will never forget it." As they stood side by side, the stars above twinkled brightly, as if celebrating the union. The people of Sci-Fi, inspired by their princess and the human who had won her heart, knew that their kingdom had entered a new era, one of hope, courage, and unity that could reach beyond planets and species. And so, under the twin moons and the shimmering stars, a new chapter began. The princess and the human, united by heart, courage, and respect, ready to face any adventure the universe could offer. Their love became a legend, a story of how understanding, bravery, and kindness could bridge worlds and hearts alike. Princess Liara, once known for refusing all suitors, and Captain Ethan Drake, the human who had journeyed across the stars, now stood together, not just as leaders, not just as friends, but as partners in life, love, and the endless possibilities of the universe. The future of Sci-Fi, and perhaps even the galaxy, was brighter for their courage, wisdom, and most of all, their hearts.